Hello, everyone. I'm Suzanne Boudreau with Noodle Soup for Your Soul. We are here to talk to John Doherty with Virtual Mind Camp. He's a magnetic mind coach with the work of Chris Duncan. Welcome, John. Welcome.
Hey, Suzanne. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So to start off, I'd love to know your story, where you were in your life when you decided you needed change, and what made you decide that Chris's work was for you.
Wow, that's a pretty long story. Let me try and make that brief. So I had a 25-year career of sales in IT and telecom. I was very successful at it, but it was always, all of my successes were just followed by just as equal big acts of destruction, right? I had my story from, I got scarlet fever when I was 2 and lost hearing in my left ear. So I've been deaf in my left ear since I was 2. Smacked with a baseball in the face when I was in middle school. So those years of going through that maturity in middle school, I only had one tooth, right? So that was kind of awkward. Had my first 2 daughters before I was 21. So right out of high school, 2 girls while I was in college. But I did well. I graduated college and got a job with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, did well with them. But then, destroyed that marriage, at the time. I still have a lot of relationships with them. But, just all that turbulence, just like that. I have 3 daughters that all went through that kind of world. And, but I always found ways to succeed. And then again, I would reach these peaks and crash. I left the working world and started my own business, just trying to find myself, right? Be me or whatever, and get out of that madness of control, it seemed like. I've always been into personal development and self-development. I actually have Tony Robbins around here somewhere, let's see, from the 90s, right? Personal power, right? So I'd always worked on that kind of stuff. I'm a high-ticket closers coach under Dan Locke because my sales had started to suffer. And in that work, I found this video from this redhead guy popped up on YouTube, right? And did this Recode and did a Recode session and reprogrammed these 2 ladies to be able to go from being just total fear of public speaking to being on stage talking with everybody. And to me, that was an identity shift that I related to. I'm a recovered alcoholic, right, as well. So I got ran over by a car in 2010 and died 3 times, all right? And so, I forgot to say that part in there too. Yeah, I died 3 times already. I spent 12 weeks in a coma, came to at a rehab facility, and decided to check out of that because I needed to go back to the sales world because I was such an awesome sales guy. That was my ego. Took me another 5 years to realize that, maybe I went back to drinking is really what I went back to, even as messed up as I was. By the time 2015 came around, I quit drinking. I was almost 260 pounds. This arm, all my muscles had atrophied. I was in miserable shape. So took a lot to change that. And in finding Chris Duncan's work, I really found you gotta see it, you gotta be it to see it, right? It's your identity that really is the core of everything that drives your life. And to me, I was chasing all these things outside of me, trying to fix me. And it took understanding the work he did. As soon as I found that out, I've Napoleon Hill's affirmations I've memorized. I could literally speak it to you right now. And so I've done all that, right? I've done all that work for years. I can name Zig Ziglar. I have a friend, I have coaches all over. Zig Ziglar coach, you name it. I've done all that work. But it was until I realized that it wasn't about all that stuff outside of me, and I didn't have to do all that work, that it truly was just my identity. And just like we call it the Wizard's Gate, when you get in that place of innocence, and then you're able to create that new identity in yourself and be able to manifest what you are truly desiring. That to me is the same place that you're in. They call it the spiritual awakening, when you get sober and you realize alcohol doesn't have power over you anymore. To me, that's the same place you're in when you get to that wizard's gate and you realize that things outside of you don't have control over you. You can be and do whatever you want. You just have to decide, right?
And allow it. Yes.
That's where your power is.
Yeah, it sounds like pretty much all of humanity. What we do, we always look outside ourselves to cover up our pain, to try and numb ourselves a lot of times. It's a very common thing. And so, and you get to a point where it's like, man, I got to start looking inward here. You get to a point in your life, I can't fix it. I have to get a new perspective, right?
Absolutely. And like, you know, and my story is that, right? The drugs and alcohol that I use to mask my emotions. I could point out some of the leaders and presidents clubs award and trophies that are stacked to the wall over there. All right. Mm-hmm. Trophies that and I made tons of money. I did all the 6-digit money and all that, but I was still I have a picture of me in Maui, Hawaii, getting some of the leaders award from the president and the CEO of a big telecom company. I'm in one of the most beautiful resorts in Maui, and I'm one of the most miserable guys you'll ever meet in your life.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? You think you have it all and you really don't feel it.
I thought I had it all, right? I was there with a beautiful girl and then Maui, and I was terrible. It was terrible. It was because it was all in my head, right? And until I realized that,
that's huge.
I was chasing shiny objects or chasing books and lessons and events and whatever, just trying to fix myself. Finally, it all came true to me there.
That's amazing. What an awesome story that you started to look within you. And that's what you were searching for at the time. You knew something had to change. So
a lot of people touch on that. There's a lot of good modalities and good things to do, right? People teach you things out there, but nobody gives you the structure and tells you how to do it. And that was the difference in this.
Very true.
The structure's there. Yeah.
Very true. The structure is in this work that we're learning in Magnetic Mind. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That is the big game changer, right?
So did you want to go over maybe a few things you want to share specifically, like 3 things that you feel is the most important in your transformation that you're trying to teach to your clients, that they'll get it?
This is what I teach to my clients. I have actually the work right here. I spoke to that a little bit, right?
Yes.
In my use of drugs or my winning or alcohol or my winning some of the leaders or these presidents clubs and getting to all these places and doing these things, right? I was trying to get to a desired reality, right? Of be in that place that I thought I was going to obtain by having those things or doing those things, right? And so in my current reality, every time I got to that place, I started sabotaging myself because my identity was not the same as that person that would be that person, right? And so what happened is, and this is what I teach to my students, right? It doesn't matter if it's money, if it's loved ones, people you love, if it's your home, your foundation, your security, all 3 of those are all the same. We build an identity, and actually our identity is created for us by the time we're age 7. Is most of that is done for us. So that is a big misconception that we're taught by society and the way we're brought up in the structure of schools and even some religions, I can't even say.
Yeah, parenting as well, right?
It's a touchy subject in my family, but anyway, it's the truth. We are taught such limiting beliefs of how we need to fix ourselves and we need to prepare ourselves, right? You need to get A's, not B's in school to get through 1st grade to 2nd grade to 3rd grade, right? And we're always comparing ourselves to other people as we go through school, and you want to look like Barbie doll or Ken doll, right? And that's part of the society and the karmic world we grow up in, right?
And John, that really limits the way we can expand our spiritual practice, absolutely, because it has nothing to do with our exterior. It's all having to do within, right?
Exactly. And that's where we get off course, right? Or we're just taught to paddle down that wrong river, and we're paddling as hard as we can, but we're going in the wrong direction, right? Mm-hmm. And so I do teach about how society does train us, right? And I talk about our three memories that touch on, right? We have our self-conscious memory, our unconscious memory, and our superconscious memory. And so our self-conscious memory is our ego. And I think Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks of it very well when he talks about at any given time in your active experience, there's 90 billion bits of information going on in your brain, and your ego conscious experience is only working with about 2,000 bits of that information. So what you think you know is not even 5% of what's going on and what really is happening in your world. And I like to tell people, when you see me pointing my hand and I see myself pointing my hand at you, that's already happening, right? I'm witnessing that happening. And so that's my unconscious already driving that motion, right? Just like your heartbeat, just like you already learned how to spell and speak, that's learned. And that's your unconscious, right? That's running all that world. So that's your learned behavior. As well, though, you have your superconscious. Your unconscious also is from conception to birth, and really up to about the age 7, when you're taught things as a child, such as, good little boys and girls don't act like that, and be quiet back there, right? And even things like spelling happen at that age, and we don't talk about that much, but the black magic that kind of happens to little kids, like a little girl who loves to sing, but mom comes home pissed off from work. Sorry, I didn't mean to use that, but
that's all right.
Screams at her little girl for singing because it bothers her, right? Shut up, Dad, don't have that little voice. And it wounds that child, right? That little child who loves her mother so much, all of a sudden will never sing again, right? Because she just hurt the one she loves. And to her, that was a serious wounding. So that manifests from her not singing again as a little girl to not raising her hand in class, not asking for permission for this or even later in life when she's a professional and she's up against those guys or whoever, other women in the boardroom, but she won't speak out or speak her mind. She's much more talented and much smarter than all those people. That little wounding, that little thing is the one that holds her back from all the greatness that she had, right, that she didn't express.
So true.
It's
so
a tough
true.
thing.
Yep.
It is, and it's very prevalent in our world. So a lot of our world is by this unconscious and superconscious. This is actually the part that we recode. And so many people are trying to fix themselves with their conscious mind, and they're trying to move ice to make ice, right? And this is a whole theory that we go into about the whole Recode process, where you go out of yourself and out of your ego.
So, John, can you explain what a Recode is to our audience, like briefly?
Yeah, actually, so Recode is where you really redefine the rules or the beliefs that you have in your unconscious mind around certain things, right? The little rules that it's not okay to do this, or it's okay to do whatever. Some of them are really traumatic rules, right? They've come from traumatic experiences, so they're buried very deep down in there. And they usually don't get triggered, or they get triggered, right? They're dormant memories that are buried deep inside, and certain events trigger them. And you see it if you've ever said something to somebody or called somebody something, a name, and it came out before you caught it, right? Never done that before.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. And it's like, oh man, I can't believe I said that, right? That is actually a memory of yours. That's a dormant memory of yours. And it related to some other event in your life that person triggered. That person did, said, or made some little quirky either remark or motion that triggered a memory in your head that pulled that from your dormant memory and compared that person to some a-hole you knew in the past, and you called them that, right?
It's amazing though, John, that you say that about getting triggered, because when you get triggered, it's like your whole emotional floodgate opens and you've got no control of yourself a lot of times.
Right. And actually, and that is another part of it too. When you do realize this, you start to learn how you control this, right? When you do get triggered like that, a lot of times we let that build, right? If we don't stop it. And it's kind of like when you're in traffic, right? And all of a sudden that person cuts you off and you let them affect you, right? And you're all of a sudden mad at them, flicking them off, whatever, but you're getting aggressive driving. And now the very next thing that happens is going to set you off a little further, right? And it seems all manifests like that, right? It just grows from that. So. And that's what happens when that mom that was mad at work and drives home in bad traffic and shows at home with the little girl and creates that experience, right?
Right, exactly.
And it becomes a emotionally triggered memory right there.
There you go. Absolutely.
We just went full circle with that, didn't we?
We've all experienced that. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and give us a bit more information, go for it.
Yeah, so this is actually what I coach people to. We've all had years of growing up this way, right? And just repeated the habit of because this is all we know, right? This is the way this is what our parents knew, this is all they knew. And so much of this information is not new. It's actually been around for many, many years. And what Chris has done is put it into a structure that works. And it's amazing, just the changes in myself. Some of my friends that'll see this won't even believe the size I am now.
Who you are now, yeah. Well, you've created a freedom, right? You've created a freedom, like
oh yeah, absolutely.
A freedom within you, which is so powerful in itself.
It is, and it is so powerful that some of it I just fail to explain to people just because they got to experience it themselves. They won't believe me if I tell them anyway. So I was like, you know what? Just start with the little stuff. We'll let you see the big stuff yourself. That, right? And so that's what I do. I coach people on being a magnetic mind. And really it's, so not only is the Recode very important, it recodes you from some of those limiting beliefs you have, or those things that hold you back. But the biggest part is the lenses, the focus on your life, right? And being a creator and not a problem solver. When you focus on creating the life you want, and then you create your day every day to focus on that, then the problems and all the little things that we make into big things, right? They're all little things, really. And they start, right? They just manifest into bigger things. Those don't become a problem anymore because we create our way around it, right? And even other people's creations don't become a problem because we create around that too. And
so true.
And that's what I teach people as lenses. I get them into the habit of creating that 1 year focus of what it would be like if they wanted the home they love, or the person they love, or the relationship of life they love, right? And the health and vitality they want, the 4 core things that really everybody wants in their life, right? Health and vitality, to live the life you love, right? To live your
my favorite.
Yeah. And to be the predominant creative force in your life, right? You want to create your days. And but yeah, and to live the life you love, right? That's really
my favorite.
Yeah. And that's it. And so, and you have that power, you have that choice to live the life you love every single day. But we give our power away to everything else. And it's amazing. And when you start realizing this and creating your day that way, and it takes a coach to do it. Just like I like to relate it to AA because I'm a recovered alcoholic. And so it's easy for me to relate it that way. But I needed a sponsor to get me to quit drinking, right? And I needed a coach in this program to keep me from the habits that I kept reverting back to every time I failed, right? Because that's the only thing I knew was what I knew. And I couldn't see outside of me. And just like I tell the other alcoholics I help out, to get sober, you can't read the label from inside the bottle, right? You can't see you're a drunk while you're drinking. Well, that same little shortcoming works in our real life too, right? I can't see my shortcomings because I made them, right? But you can, and you can tell me about it, and you can tell me the true goals that I'm searching for aren't true goals. I'm really doing a process, and just little things that we do to ourselves.
That's why coaching is so important, right? That's why, because you don't see it within yourself. You see it outside yourself, but you can't see it within yourself. That's true.
Exactly. And that is, I think that's the biggest thing. And once I found out that, it took me a lot of years to realize, because I grew up that you got this, right? You got to handle this, and it's your world and you're responsible. So I got this and I don't need your help, right? And that's
a big one.
That is the biggest thing that many men are there, right? Many of us men are there. And a lot of women that I've done recodes with, they have a lot of that similar protective role, right? They're protecting themselves from that evil out there. There's evil.
That's right.
Whatever. But it's kind of a similar, the different ends of the same stick, right? And, but it's what holds us back from all the greatness that's in us. So,
it's interesting. Yeah, sorry. It's interesting, this comment you made about you were driven, you were taught to be driven. Yeah. And sometimes you would fail because that's just part of life. But what I've learned about failure, it can be a reset. It can be a feedback, right?
And that's how I look at it. That is exactly a big difference for me, right? Is today, I kind of enjoy failure a little bit, right? I like failing fast. And so then I'm on the right track faster, right? And that's really how I see it. And I used to take it so personal. Mm-hmm. And when I would be at that top, right? And then all of a sudden start sabotaging it and not make it to that next one. It's like, what's wrong with me, right? And so then that became a vicious loop of self-sabotage in and of itself, right? And so all these little tornadoes that we make for ourselves.
So true. So for the people who are really interested, or they've been piqued or prompted to look into this work, to improve their lives, what would you offer them to start off, let's say, to introduce this kind of concept that most people do not understand?
No, absolutely. The first thing I would do is just have them come join me for a free Recode session and experience it, right? Until you experience what it's like to have these limiting beliefs just removed, and just to find out the power that you have and how you can control all this. And some people, it kind of pisses them off when they realize how much they've been limiting themselves. And so that's what I would do. I would come to one of my free Recode sessions, and then from there I would take it from coaching beyond that, right? I have a group coaching that's with everybody in a whole university that takes people through the process, really learn this process. And you can even be a certified coach like me. You actually learn and teach myself out of business, right? So,
but it's all for the greater good, right, John? It's all for the greater good. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. And
so, that's awesome. So
I would just invite people to come do a free Recode, and then from there, choose what type of coaching you'd like. If you want one-on-one intense, I've got a program for that, or the group weekly, but they all come with the university, and just tons of stuff to really, it's about habituating yourself out of the old habits, right?
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you with open arms to really make that change that you so desire in your life. And we want to thank John Doherty today for joining us and sharing his story, sharing that you can create the life you love. And he is an awesome instructor, your biggest cheerleader. So we thank you for joining us today, John. And have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thanks for having me, Suzanne. Take care.
Bye-bye.